Fantastic. And
yeah, it's pretty exciting. It really is. It's great news. It's really what we've all in the field, I think, been waiting for a very long time, and I'm just delighted to be able to announce it and let people know that they can start really looking forward to something dramatic happening toward the end of next year. The testing will be in the mid part of the year, but the documentary, they have to film it, they have to cut it, they have to, it's like preparing a book. It takes about a year to do a big one like this, and so we're just kicking it off, and we're very excited about it.
Still traveling, speaking?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just got back from Australia. My wife, Amy, is from Australia, and she hadn't been home in a while, so we went over there and did a speaking tour, and one of the things that we did was we went to the Nexus conference. Nexus magazine puts on a big conference every year down there, and we went to that one and were able to speak on the same program with the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull, the famous Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull. So that put the two most famous skulls in alternative knowledge on the same program. So people really turned out, and we had a great time with the individuals that came there, but also was able very fortunately to get a private audience with the Mitchell-Hedges skull. Spend like a half an hour with it, and they do that. They sell those slots to people who want to pay the money, the extra money for it. And we were there. One of them came up that Bill Homan just said, I want you to come take a look at it just for free. So we did. My wife Amy and I and her mother. And when we saw it, it was it's an amazing thing for those who are not really aware of what makes the Mitchell-Hedges skull so special.
It's named after an English adventurer, right?
Right. Well, it's named after his daughter who found it, Anna Mitchell-Hedges. It's called that because that was her name, but she found it when she was a teenager. Ironically enough, this is so incredible. She was a teenager. It was her 17th birthday when she found the crystal skull. The woman who found the Starchild was a teenager of 14, 15 when she found it. So, what are the odds of that? But anyway, we spent our time. Now, a lot of people want to be with any crystal skull because they want to feel the emanations from it that supposedly some people can feel. I was not part of that, nor was Amy or her mother. We didn't do that. We weren't able to experience that part of it. Maybe we're not open to it or whatever. But what we did do was spend our time talking to Bill about the physical mechanics of what makes this thing so special. And the average crystal skull, there's about 200 of them out there, other than this very special Mitchell-Hedges one, which is just so perfect. And they are carved out of crystal of different kinds and different cloudiness, different levels. But this is absolutely clear crystal. It's amazing. Now, it does have occlusions and flaws and things in it, but this one, it's very, very remarkably clear. What makes it impossible is that when you normally cut a crystal, any kind of crystal, whether it's a diamond or any other jewel, the first thing you do is you line up the axis around which the crystal has grown. Crystals grow around like a seed, and they have an axis. Well, this skull has at least 3 axes, and they argue that it may have a 4th, but the point is it's got 3 axes jumbled into it, and the thing has been cut against those axes, not along them, against them. Now, any other stone, it should have just exploded. It should not have held together, and yet somehow it did. And not only were they able to cut it out against the grain of the axes, they cut the jaw completely loose. Normally, in a crystal skull, you just see some etching to represent the teeth, and the jaw is always a part of the block. The jaw doesn't articulate. It doesn't come completely loose like a real jaw does on a human skull. So this one is clearly cut out of the same. They took some years ago. They tested it at Hewlett-Packard, and they found out all these things about it that I'm describing. And one of which is they found out that the jaw and the skull came from the same block of quartz. There's no doubt about it. And yet somehow whoever did it was able to separate the jaw completely from the main body again against the axes, and it should have just shattered, but somehow it didn't. That's what they can't figure out. And then on top of that, my wife Amy used to be a dental nurse in Australia, and so the first thing she did was start looking at the teeth and comparing the jaw and how it fit with the upper teeth. And she said to Bill Homan, "Do you realize that these occlusions and the cusps of the teeth fit in against each other?" And he said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And so in human teeth, they have cusps, and they have the little kind of valley down in the middle of the cusps, and those are called the occlusions. In perfect teeth, the upper and the lower teeth fit where the upper cusps fit into the bottom of the lower occlusions, and it's a nice tight fit. That is what this thing has. Somehow they were able to cut it that fine.
How could they
do
this? How they do this?
Well, it can only be done, I think, with lasers. I mean, you just can't. You couldn't do that with hand tools of any kind, because it's not even as big as a human skull. It's a little bit smaller. It's kind of like the size of the Starchild, actually, in terms of the Starchild is the size of about a 12-year-old, or the size of someone about 5 feet tall. So it's a little smaller than average, but for someone 5 feet tall, it would be a perfectly normal skull. But we're talking something that's really pretty doggone small, and these teeth are small too. And yet the occlusions are cut into the cusps so that you have a perfect fit. And this thing is a miracle of engineering. What I like to say when I try to describe it to people is, imagine the pyramids as big as they are and as impossible as they are. This is the pyramids on a small scale that you can hold in your hand, basically. This is the complexity level, the genius level of the pyramids brought down to a human-sized scale. It's truly amazing. And by the way, one of the planes you can see in the rear of the head, when you get the light just right on it, you can see the whole axes of the plane. It's like two pieces of the quartz have been glued together almost. There's an absolute circular line of demarcation in the rear of the head. A big chunk, were it to get the right kind of pressure, get struck in the right kind of way, the whole rear of that head would just slide off right along the line of that thing. It's amazing how it was done. And they also say, get this is what impressed me too. I didn't see this, but they say you can take it out in the sun and get the sun to come on it exactly right in the rear of the head, and light will pour out of the eyes and the nose hole and will set paper on fire or it'll start fires. I mean, that's amazing. And also they say that if you do light just a certain way up under the neck hole, that light will go up into the body of it and then band around through the zygomatic arches, through the cheekbones. It'll sweep around through there and come and light up the face. It's like those cheekbones have been designed as tubes of light. I didn't see that either, but this is, again, what they said would happen. We were just in a kind of a darkened room looking at it so that the light, when he did shine it, made it really light up. But it's just an amazing artifact from nothing more than an engineering standpoint. Now you add in the fact that so many people claim that they feel metaphysical things out of it. Sensitives and people like that swear up and down that they can feel vibrations out of it. And who knows, George, this skull could be the repository of all the knowledge in the universe because, microchips are made of quartz. That skull could be holding more information than we can conceive of if we just knew how to tap it out. And maybe someday we will. But that skull is special. I mean, in my mind, it's like the Mayan calendar. It can't be there, but it is.
Does it look like there is a place for a key or anything like that in the skull?
No, there are two little bitty holes drilled in the back of it as balance points. It apparently is meant to balance on something so that it can rock back and forth with like the movement of a breeze, and the jaw would then, if the jaw was hanging down, it would look like it was talking. It's got a design like that, but as far as any kind of like a key or something like that, I think somebody's just going to have to figure out how to put some wires on it and just pull it out if it's in there. And I suspect there's probably, why would they go to that kind of trouble? Of course, they could have lost it. It was lost. It was buried.